Everybody, welcome to Story Time with Pastor Kyle and his girls. And tonight we're going to continue the exciting story of the Exodus. We remember that we left God's people. They had just left Egypt, and now the Pharaoh's after them. This one is called God Makes a Way. So here's how the story goes. Moses and God's people escaped out of Egypt and into the wilderness. They didn't know the way, but God knew the way, and he would show them. I will bring you to a new home, a special land, God promised them. I will look after you, and I am with you. God sent a big cloud for them to follow by day. And it moved in front of them as they walked and shaded them from the blazing heat of the day. And when it was time to stop, it stopped. All through the cold desert nights, it kept them warm, glowing like fire. God led his people through the desert to the edge of a great sea. They were just wondering how to cross it when suddenly they heard a terrible thundering and pounding. It sounded like horses' hooves. They shaded their eyes to look back and screamed, "Ah!" It was Pharaoh and his army, and they were coming after them. Bom, bom, bom. Pharaoh had changed his mind again. "Get my slaves back," he screeched, and he charged into the desert after them with 600 of his fastest horsemen in every single chariot in Egypt. What's going to happen? What were God's people going to do? In front of them was a big sea. It was so big, there was no way around it. And there was no way through it. It was too deep. They didn't have any boats, so they couldn't sail across it. And they couldn't swim across it because it was far too far and they would drown. And they couldn't go back because Pharaoh was chasing them. They could see the flashing swords now glinting in the baking sun and the dust clouds and the chariots after a scary chariot surging towards them. So they did the only thing that was left to do. Panic! Ah! "We're gonna die!" they shrieked. "Don't be afraid," Moses said. But there is that a silly voice for Moses? "But there's nothing we can do," they screamed. "God knows we can't do anything," Moses said. "But God will do it for us. Trust him and watch." "But there's no way, they screamed. "God will make a way where there's no way," Moses said. Another minute and it would have been all over. But the strangest thing happened. God made the pillar of smoke move. It moved behind his people and hid them from the Egyptians. Then God sent a strong east wind to blow all night. It blew on the water of the big sea. It blew it to the left and it blew it to the right until it blew it into two towering walls of water. And there, right through the middle of the sea, a muddy pathway opened. And God's people walked across on dry land. Next, can you turn it again? When the Egyptians tried to follow, the walls of the water crashed back down on them and swallowed them up. God's people were safe. They danced and laughed and sang and thanked God. When there had been no way, God made a way. And that's the very first worship song in the Bible. Many years later, once again, God was going to make a way where there was no way. From the beginning, God's children had been running from him, hiding. But God knew his children could not be happy without him. They couldn't get back to him by themselves. They were lost and they didn't know the way back. But God knew the way. And one day, he would show them the way too. And so our next story tomorrow night is going to be 10 Ways to Be Perfect. All right, have a good night, guys.